I'm Drew.
I'm Tony.
And this, well, you know what? This is a very special episode. This is a time honored tradition that Tony and I have kept for, I don't even know how many years now, but you guys are going to get to experience it. This is our summer movie preview Bonanza 3000.
Zach, 3000. Well, yeah, 2025.
2025. That doesn't have the same ring. It doesn't have quite the same. But yeah, so for years, if you don't know what this is, for years Tony and I would get together and we would talk on the phone wherever we were in the country. We'd have a conversation and we would preview the summer movies as if it were a fantasy draft, looking at what our big picks were. I mean, Tony sees everything. We get it. My time's a little more limited, so I have to be selective. So that's what we're doing on this. If you want to play at home and have fun with it, we're not keeping any kind of real score here, but we'll be kind of curious to see, if we both decide to make which will win that week is kind of the game we're playing here. It's hard to predict numbers anymore, but Tony can. I'm not going to play that game with him. That's an instant loss for me. I'm not taking a big L, but it is fun to play who will win that week. So basically, that's what we're doing. This is the show. We're very excited for it. Tony, let's just set up. We've talked about this in a bit. I just want to set up real quick. We've hit two summer seasons on our show so far for 93 and 94. Obviously, this is for 2025. How important was the summer season to us as kids?
Yeah, so a couple things I want to talk about. First of all, and we'll get to that in just a second, but I want to talk about our listener, Dale, who sent us a text earlier today about he has. I mean, it's a photo of the shell of what's left of the Carmike Theater on Government, and which we spent countless hours of our childhood there. So and adulthood, and so he sent us this photo, and he was like, "Why has this not been torn down?" Which I mean, I don't have a great answer for it, but because there's nothing inside of it anymore. It's a shell of what it used to be, and and I will say this to him. I told him I would answer this on air, and I'm going to. I will say this: if that theater gets torn down before last year, we're not doing a show right now. More
That's
than
true. That's
because
true.
because of that drone footage flying around inside that the shell of that theater that pretty much prompted this show to even be in existence. So I'm kind of happy it's still there. I actually wouldn't mind it's just staying there. It's like a remnant of our past. Like I don't really have a problem with it. I know there's going to come a point in time when they'll want that space for something else, but I kind of feel comfortable seeing it there. Which is my take on it. But
No. I'm with you. I drive by it a good bit. So usually on Fridays, inside baseball into my life, on Fridays I leave the office. I come in early. I usually get here at 7 on Fridays, but I leave the office around 10 o'clock. I drive to Costco. I do my shopping, and I drive home. And the route I always take on Fridays is down Highway 90. I pass that every single Friday that I go shopping, which is most Fridays, and I see it. And it's a reminder, and it's always there, and I always see it, and I always think about it, and it always brings back the memory. So it's also a giant eyesore, no lie about it, and it probably is not benefiting the neighborhood. I wish what they would do is some theater chain would come along and just bring it back to life. It won't be a Carmike, obviously. They're not in this area anymore, but it'd be amazing if somebody would have the shell and bring it back to life. If not, I don't want it to become what Mobile loves the most. Since you've been gone, let me tell you what Mobile loves. We love car lots for no purpose. We
right,
love them. We
yeah,
also love
yeah,
storage facilities. We love storage here.
right.
I don't know why.
Now,
And we also love vacant lots. Now that building being there prevents it. It's vacant, yes, but the building provides structure. So
right.
I'd rather, like, to your point, I'm supporting your point here and all that. I'd rather the building stay a shell or turn into a movie theater than become anything else.
So that's the reason. I mean, the only other theater that we still have a remnant of is Bel Air 2, and that's it. Of the old
And it's
theaters.
got it's
Yeah,
now
go ahead.
Bel Air 2's gutted now. By the way, I drove
Yeah,
by it the other
it,
day.
it's
Yeah,
got. to like the shell of it. I mean,
Yep.
and so that is the only other theater. Everything else that we talk about on this show is gone. Movies 10, Dolphin Street, Village 6, Springdale. I know Springdale, the building and stuff is still there, but the actual theater part of it inside is no longer there, or the signage
Yep.
out. So so it's kind of like from a nostalgia point of view, and you're not as nostalgic, but I do like to see those things sometimes. If they're going to keep them there, why not? I mean, it is, to me, it is better than in a car lot, or some storage facility. But that's the answer to that question, which I told them I would do. The answer to what you were just talking about a minute ago, which is our summer movie preview extravaganza. This originally got started because my mother bought me a subscription to Entertainment Weekly
Oh my God, yes.
from issue number one. I was a Sports Illustrated guy, and Sports Illustrated and Entertainment Weekly were tied together, and Entertainment Weekly did a rollout issue inside of Sports Illustrated as a like a a pilot issue that wasn't number one. And then my mom got me the subscription to Entertainment Weekly. Entertainment Weekly always had the most comprehensive summer movie preview issue of anybody. It had every movie you'd want to see. It had all the actors, the directors, and everything else. And that's what always prompted our conversations, and that's what's led to this episode.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think now it's taken for granted how much content, how early trailers drop, all that kind of stuff. But when it was print only, I mean, you're talking about some of these photos you would have never seen squat on this movie until that issue came out.
No, it was amazing. It was the best, and the whole issue was dedicated towards it. And I loved Entertainment Weekly because I was always a stats guy, so that's where I got box office. That's where I got ratings on TV shows, and that's the only other place I could knew where you could get some of that was USA Today, and that was it.
Yep.
This is before the internet. You got to remember, I mean, this is like 1989 when Entertainment Weekly comes out, 89, 90, so it's a big deal. And that's where I started my love. It was late '80s is where I started my love for box office numbers and things like that. So yeah, and so here we are. Let's
Yep.
get it going.
All right, so here we are. I'm going to let you kick us off. We're starting in May. For those of you that don't know, there's a couple movies that started before this, but we're starting May, and I'll let Tony take it from there. Set it up, T.
So this is the traditional. The traditional route has always been the summer movie season started Memorial Day weekend. So we're starting with Memorial Day weekend, and we're not going to get to Thunderbolts, which I thought was very good, but we're not doing any of the movies previous to May 23rd. So we'll start off with May 23rd. Two big movies come out: Lilo and Stitch, live action, and Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. This is going to be the battle of the summer without question.
100%. So I was just in Disney World, and I can speak to this. Disney, while we were there, obviously Disney pushes their own content, but the amount of Stitch, specifically Stitch, and it's this version of Stitch, it wasn't the animated version, the amount of Stitch merchandise that was all throughout Disney World, now I was there in April, was insane. The merch push has already started. So Disney is putting a lot behind this. Lilo and Stitch I feel like it's not necessarily one of the. I mean, I know there's a lot of fans of the animated version. I think it's gained popularity over time and become a classic, and I'm sure it did well in the box office. But it was never one that it's not a go-to Disney movie. But I have a feeling one of the challenges that they faced with other live action stuff. This is my hypothesis. Is that you make Lion King and it's kind of photo real. You got lions attacking I mean that's. I remember Finley saw it and she was kind of freaked out. This Stitch has a cartoonish, although it's CG and live action, it still has a cartoonish element. I think it's going to crush.
This is going to be huge. And let me tell you why. I go to the theater once or twice a week, okay? And I see everything. And this trailer is played a lot. And I'm usually in theaters with at least some people. Not always fully packed. Sometimes it is. But I'm usually in the theater with some people. Every time this trailer comes on, everybody is laughing. every kid wants to see this film. They are going to take their parents to it,
Yep.
and every parent I've seen, for the most part, has been laughing during this trailer. This is going to be a must see without question. The box office on these two movies will be split, I think, a little bit because um, so Mission Impossible did the right thing. They marketed themselves differently here a little bit.
Yep.
This movie was supposed to come out. Dead Reckoning came out in 2023. So Final Reckoning, it was supposed. This movie was supposed to come out as Dead Reckoning Part Two in 2024, and of course the writer strike hit, pushing the filming back, and so now we've got it as Final Reckoning. What they did that was smart was they called it Final Reckoning, which means this is the event. You need to come to the theaters. You need to watch this movie. It's the last one. Come to the theaters. Come watch Mission Impossible one last time. Is a very smart marketing tool. And outside of James Cameron, the guy who knows how to do this the best is Tom Cruise.
Absolutely.
James Cameron's number one. The next best guy is Tom Cruise. He gets it, man. I will watch any movie Tom Cruise is in because he loves the movie industry, not the entertainment industry, the movie industry. He knows how to put movies into theaters and make bank. And that is what
The,
he's going to do here. He's going to make big bank here. Lilo and Stitch is going to be huge. I predict Lilo and Stitch will be probably the top domestic of these two movies, but Tom Cruise knows how to win those overseas dollars, and he will get a big, big, big bank on this movie. Promise.
the thing about this one that they've done that was an interesting marketing tactic that I thought was pretty brilliant is not only have they pushed the Final Reckoning, which is genius that you brought that up. The other side of it is they're pushing the Tom Cruise element that he does his own stunts, that the stunts are insane. There's an entire trailer that came out that's nothing but talking about the stunts. They did this with Dead Reckoning, and they did the same thing. And they did this whole little mini featurette on the motorcycle stunt that was nuts. That Tom Cruise jumped off of a mountain on a motorcycle with a parachute, no CGI. Now he's got to one up his game, and now he's hanging off of an airplane. And from what I hear, the sequence, I saw some people talking about previews, say it's insanity. The stunts are insanity. So there's that. Now let me ask you, there's one challenge I have to this that could affect the overall winner, and that is going to be runtime. The runtime of Mission Impossible Final Reckoning is allegedly 3 hours.
Yeah,
Do you think that has a negative effect?
it is close to that. It always affects things a little bit because you have more showings. You know, a shorter movie has
Right.
more. What
Right.
this has to kind of counter it a little bit is the fact that it has all the IMAX screens. So
Fair point.
So IMAX always has more money, and so it's got a couple hundred extra screens on it that Lilo and Stitch won't have as well. It's gonna be pretty tough. I still think Lilo and Stitch is a bigger movie because I just think if they haven't done anything to really Disney lately has done a lot of stuff to irritate viewers, um, especially with Snow White. It's
Oh
a lot of-
Lord. Oh Lord.
so Disney's got a little bit of that stank on them, you know, which some people will stay away from some of their product, but I don't. But there's people who do, and um, but this movie hasn't had that, and so people are going to want to see Lilo and Stitch. I promise you, it looks absolutely amazing. So
I,
I'm looking forward to both. To be honest with you,
I'm I'm going to go with you on this. I do believe that Lilo and Stitch will win out. I think Lilo and Stitch could carry. I'm going to say this boldly. I think Lilo and Stitch could carry into the next week as well. And we will talk about those movies in a second, but I think it'll carry. I think it will.
no doubt. And let's go to that week, May 30th. We're gonna have three movies that come out May 30th. Bring Her Back, which is a horror movie from the Filipu brothers who did Talk to Me, which was an amazing horror film if you haven't seen it. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Jane Austen Wrecked My Life, which is a French movie, French indie that's going to provide some counter programming to some of these bigger movies. And then, of course, Karate Kid Legends, which is a movie I'm really looking forward to. I love the Karate Kid franchise, and this is going to branch in and bring the Miyagi and the Lee stuff together. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to Karate Kid Legends for sure.
Yeah, and if anyone has not seen the trailer for Legends, I will tell you, Karate Kid Legends trailer just screams the vibes of what we got with original Karate Kid. It just like I get the not the remake, but the kind of reimagining that they did, but this doesn't. There's a tournament involved. I mean, it just screams for anybody who loved that. We've talked about a lot on the show with Bloodsport and some of the other films like that. It's a kid's version of it, but it just screams to me the kind of movie that I kind of miss having, which is just a good adventure type film. And I think it's going to perform very well. It looks really good. Bring Her Back is here. Here's my only challenge on this week, not counting what we said previous about Lilo and Stitch. The one thing that's been weird to me about summertime horror movie releases is when they hit big. They don't seem to just, if they hit, it is a monster hit. And I think this has a good chance just because of how early it's being dropped in the season. I think there's an interesting side of it that could go really, really, really well. I don't know much about that film aside from you mentioned the directors on it. I don't know a ton about it beyond that.
So I think I'll probably get to see it way before it drops on May 30th because there is a horror movie edition of the Mystery Movie Night coming up this coming Monday, which is the 19th.
Nice.
And I believe Bring Her Back's going to be the movie. I'd be really shocked if it's not. So because we'll be already beyond Bloodlines from Final Destination and things like that. That dropped on the 16th. So we'll be beyond that. So I think I'll get to see this probably about 11 days before it actually comes out in theaters, which should be a lot of fun. But of these three movies, like you said, because of the horror element and the horror element's always a big thing with date nights and stuff like that, I still believe Karate Kid will probably be the movie that wins out of this week. I'm not going to go into, holdovers and things like that. I'm just going talking about the movie.
Sure.
Because I mean, Lilo and Stitch, holdovers from Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible could easily win this weekend as well.
I love the take. Where I'm going to separate from you is I'm going to go with Bring Her Back, and the reason why is simply because of the studio behind it. A24 has done something really fascinating. Small studio that's grown into a bigger studio. I feel like there's a brand behind A24 now that the younger audiences look. It's kind of like back when Apple was new. People bought Apple because that's what creatives used, and I'm air quoting because we did. But like people, I think A24 has become kind of like Apple in the early days of iPhone in the sense that it's kind of cool to be seen in an A24 film because though they're starting to kind of release movies like a bigger studio. They were the indie studio for a long time, or I guess they still technically are, but they're an indie studio that's gotten brand names franchise sort of status. So I'm curious to see if the A24 portion of this helps drive people because I know I've met a lot of younger people lately that talk a lot about A24 films. So I'm going to go with Bring Her Back as winning the week based on A24 being tied to it.
For domestic, though. Is that you're talking about? Because worldwide, I don't think it can be Karate Kid.
No. I'm only doing domestic. Yeah, I'm only staying in the States.
And Bring Her Back could. I mean, horror movies are always a 50-50 because some of them do really well. They almost all make their money back.
Yep.
Almost all of them do because there's just not huge budgets for the most part, but they almost all make their money. That's why this is such a huge genre that gets released a lot. But because of the crossover appeal and stuff like that, it's going to be interesting to see how it fares against a Karate Kid movie that's gotten a lot of love because of the TV show, the streaming show that's come out with Cobra Kai and all that. So there's a lot of people. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Worldwide, Karate Kid for sure.
100%.
Bring Her Back could very easily win domestically, no doubt.
It'd be interesting to see. It's a fun one. It's definitely a fun one to see set up just because of the stack against it. Just considering those two.
June 5th, and now we're into June. There's going to be a re-release of Dogma, and I bring this up as a re-release because it's a re-release because this is getting a big rollout. This is not a re-release as in like it's coming out in like 50 screens. This is going to be a rollout in like 1,200 to 2,000, 2,200 screens, and Dogma's getting a whole new 4K look. And there's going to be some stuff that was not in the first Dogma, and it's got a really big re-release. So this is going to be kind of a fun thing.
The other side of this too is Dogma has been hidden away for, unless you were someone who had it on physical media, Dogma has been hidden. It has been removed from a lot of shelves. You could not buy it unless it was either, again, a rip, an illegal download, or you owned legacy media. It has not been around simply because of a lot of different things. Some of it music related, some of it topic related, but it has been blocked for a long time. So the fact that it's finally free of its shackles, if you will, is a big deal.
Most of it Harvey Weinstein related.
Well, that's true too.
Harvey Weinstein was the one who had his company was the one who had the rights to this movie, and they would do nothing with it. And Kevin
Yep.
Smith would buy it back numerous times, but he doesn't. He's not a rich guy necessarily. He tried to buy it back for like 250, 250,000, 500,000. Then you got Matt Damon and Ben Affleck involved. He got it up to 1 million, and Harvey still wouldn't let it go. Then all of a sudden, all the stuff happened, and blah blah blah, and then somebody else bought it a whole. He needed money, and they bought a whole catalog from him. And this was one of the movies, and now it's getting a big release. So that's kind of cool.
It is kind of neat. It is neat. But that movie drops with that wide release, and you've got a extremely stacked June 6th right behind it. That next day, and a lot of these movies are going to get Thursday previews, but that next day is just going to be obnoxious.
Oh yeah, and let's start with it. From the world of John Wick, Ballerina. So there you go, Anna de Armas in the role of Ballerina. She's taking over the role, and it's got everybody in it from the John Wick franchise. I mean, Keanu Reeves and Lance Reddick's in it, and all the guys are in it. Ian McShane. So that should be kind of fun. You get the Life of Chuck, which is coming out as well. You get the Phoenician Scheme, which is a new Wes Anderson movie. That's coming out as well. You get the Ritual, which is Al Pacino. Al Pacino performing exorcisms.
Right.
That just sounds cool in itself. So there you go, another horror exorcism movie. Al Pacino performing exorcisms is something I have to go watch at the theater without question. There's no
considering he also played the devil in a movie starring Keanu Reeves. It's just a delight.
And of course, for those who don't know what The Life of Chuck is, that is based off of a Stephen King novel, but just Tom Hiddleston's in it, and it looks really good actually. So
I worked on that in a partial way. So I was asked to film some of that.
Scott Lumpkin.
Yeah, and Scott Lumpkin, friend of the show. Scott Lumpkin is one of the producers on that. I got to spend a lot of time. I interviewed Hiddleston.
Because you interviewed Hamill on this one, right?
I got to interview. Now, I'll tell you the story about Mark Hamill. The greatest interview I've ever done has been Mark Hamill, and not because I'm a huge Star Wars mark. We all know that. I love Star Wars. The reason it was such a great interview is because one question was asked, just one. Mark Hamill proceeds to talk for 35 minutes, telling stories about movies not related to this whatsoever, nothing to do with Mike Flanagan, the director of this film. He starts telling stories about Jaws that I've never heard. He starts telling stories about Joker, because he was the animated Joker. He starts telling you all this stuff. I'm losing my mind. Like, I love it. And so 35 minutes goes, we only have 45 minutes with him. And then the producer finally interrupts him and says, Mark, can you just tell me a little about the movie? Another 20 minutes goes by, so now we're late, which is now holding up production. So production doesn't often like BTS anyway, but now production's kind of frustrated with me.
He hates you guys.
Yeah, I know you do.
The word
and
hate
so
is actually
the ADs are now mad at me. The whole thing. And here's what I can tell you about the movie. The reason why I think it is going to be splendid, not just because I saw some of it being filmed, and the events in the movie are very good. It is not a horror film. It is a dramatic film. It's a beautiful movie. It's very reminiscent of Shawshank or The Green Mile. It's more in that vein, which those movies ended up doing really well. But the other side of it is it's shot by a DP named Eben. I can't remember Eben's last name, but anyway, he's also the guy that shot the first season of Last of Us. It looks absolutely stunning. There's a choreographed scene by Mandy Moore, who's the lady who did, she's a choreographer behind
St. Louis.
Dag. She's from St. Louis. Yeah. Yeah. She did that LA movie, whatever it was. Dadgummit, it won a bunch of awards, but it had Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
That movie. Anyway, it looks fantastic. So, all right. So, what do we got on these? Because obviously, John Wick has become a brand name. I think you're going to get a pull
this week, without question.
What's that?
Ballerina wins this week without question.
I think you're right. Unfortunately, I want Life of Chuck too, but I think you're right. I think Ballerina will win.
Have to find an audience, and this has already got a built-in massive audience, and they've got all the people coming back to make it. If it were just Anna de Armas by herself, I would say that maybe movie could sneak in and get it. But with Keanu there and with all the people there, and it's part of this big franchise, there's no way, man. It's gonna win both domestic and worldwide, guaranteed.
Absolutely. The other thing that helps it too is they just announced John Wick 5. So with starring Keanu Reeves, so you're telling me they didn't purposely drop that this early. So now people are going to want to, if they love the Wick movies, they're going to want to see this just to see how it ties into 5. So I agree with you.
And I'm interested in the Phoenician scheme, of course, as well, because I like Wes Anderson and I like Benicio del Toro, who's got the lead in this movie. So it's should be a fun film as well. But and of course, I do want to see Al Pacino exorcising demons. That's just going to be great. So yeah, I'm interested in all 4 films, but I know which one's going to be number 1 at the box office. And on to June 13th we are, where we have another huge movie, How to Train Your Dragon, live action. Then we got The Materialist and The Unholy Trinity. The Materialist is kind of a cool movie too, because it's got Pedro Pascal and Dakota Johnson, kind of a cool cast going on there. And then Unholy Trinity is kind of a western that's got Samuel L. Jackson and Pierce Brosnan, and should be kind of a cool counter programming for people that like those summer westerns.
There's no doubt in our minds, I imagine, that very little is going to be able to beat the juggernaut of How to Train Your Dragon live action.
Question.
I mean, the reality of that is, not only is it part of the Epic Worlds down in Universal, which has been, I'm sure, been pushing it. I did not go this time when we were down for the summer. But that movie alone already, even though it was animated, it lent itself to being a phenomenal live action film. Like I'm surprised it took them this long. Super stoked for it. My kids are excited because they grew up watching those. I grew up watching it with them. So there's a nostalgia point for dad to take the girls to the movies. My wife could care less, but like I think it's going to obviously destroy. June 13th is owned by the Dragons, no doubt.
No, there's no doubt about it. Materials does give yourself a nice counter programming. A very good cast: Pedro Pascal, Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans in this romantic movie. It's gonna play really well. It's just not gonna play boffo big like How to Train Your Dragon, which is easily going to win domestic and worldwide without question. There's no doubt about it.
So we step into June 20th, and I would contest to say we get another challenge in front of us. I think there's another little bit of a battle here. I'm very curious to see what your thoughts are here.
This is the movie I have been waiting for a very long time to watch. This is the best movie trailer that's currently out right now, without question. It's not even up for debate. 28 years later is without question an absolute must-see event. The first 2 movies are very good. This one's going to be better. They brought it all back, man. I mean, Danny Boyle's back. He's brought Alex Garland back to write it. Alex Garland's already proven that he is a winner at the box office. He had Civil War. He just directed that. He's had Warfare recently. The guy knows how to make things look cool in the theater. And this movie promises to be absolutely amazing. I'm looking forward to it, but it is up against some good stuff. So it also up against Rebel Wilson, Anna Camp, and Bride Hard, which I love Anna Camp to death. I've worked with her and know her pretty well, and she's absolutely amazing. So I will be watching your movie, Anna, just so you know. And then, of course, Pixar's Leo, which looks quite amazing as well. And Pixar is always massive, and of course, we'll be a little bit out of. We'll still have some of that dragon, some of that dragon holdover, but we'll be kind of out of Stitch at this point for the most part. And everything's going to be great, which is going to provide some nice counter programming as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because Pixar films, again, to your point, although Pixar's broken away a little bit, but to your point about it, a lot of the family environment of movie making belongs to Disney, and Pixar is another brand name that has a big piece of that family environment. I don't know. I think it's interesting to see how well like some of their other theatricals ended up doing that I didn't think were going to do as well. Like I didn't think Coco would be as big as it was. I didn't think that I can't remember the name of the other one. What's the other one with the girl that does magic? I can't remember now, but my kids watch it.
Time to find audiences.
That's right. That's right.
Some of them find audiences. So there's been Pixar movies that have not found their audience right away, and then keep playing and playing and playing and playing and playing, and then they just eventually make way more money than they should have. And so, and that's been kind of the Pixar theme lately is that they've had long legs, even in the summer. So that's something to look for here as well as reviews start coming out and people start the word of mouth starts to that starts to churn. We're starting to get in this situation again where word of mouth means something, as we've seen with Sinners, because word of mouth has really meant something for that movie, and that could be something that plays here as well. But I'm really looking forward to 28 years later. I can tell you that.
Oh, I'm 100% behind you on that. In fact, the craziest thing about that movie is I don't know how much beyond what I was told. Shot on an iPhone. I know that sounds insane, but there is rumor and speculation of that. I've seen photos of it. That's wild. What people don't realize is like Danny Boyle is an innovator, not just as a storyteller. He's an innovator as a filmmaker. He will do things to push the boundaries of something, and he likes to challenge himself. He makes quality movies, 100%. The one thing that Disney has going for it, if they decide to do this, I have a friend that owns a theater, indie theater. They forced them, it was Incredibles 2, they forced them to hold over Incredibles 2 longer, and they did that because they said, hey, we're not going to give you another movie. This is back in Marvel's heyday. We won't give you a Marvel push unless you keep Incredibles 2 in theater longer. So Disney will use some tactics to help keep that box office number going. Even if the audience isn't there, to Tony's point, they will do some stuff. I'm with you, though. 28 years later, horror film, action film, people have been waiting for it, destroys the box office. Completely.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it just completely takes the whole. June 20th is 28 years later, hands down.
I think it can be for sure. Pixar is always in there though, so we'll see how that plays out. I just remember 2 years ago, in 2023, Elemental came out.
Yep.
And it didn't do well right away, at all, and then it just kept playing and playing and playing and playing and playing, and then it just eventually just made tons and tons and tons of money. Because I remember sitting across from a listener of this show because he came into St. Louis, Richard. He was like, "Oh yeah, it's not doing well at the box office, right?" And I said, "Well, not right this second." But then all of a sudden, it just kept playing and playing and playing, and eventually got to way more than double its box office gross. Got to way over $500 million worldwide. So I mean, that is what those movies do so well. And 28 years later, because it's a horror movie, they don't usually have the same type of legs. But I do believe it's the movie that should be number one this weekend. But Pixar is always potentially the movie that could get it.
And to your point, there is not another. Just looking ahead slightly, there's not another kids-related family film all the way until July 18th. So, and we can get to that in a second, or get down to it. But so they're going to have quite a few weeks of mostly adult driven programming coming through here. So yeah, you could be right, dude. We could see this turn. It could
Yep.
flip on us, but it won't
Uh,
win the week, but it could win. It could win. It could win the stretch for sure.
no, it could. And that's what Pixar is good at doing, is finding those little nuanced little crevices in the schedule where they can play for a month without a lot of counter kid programming, and that's what they do really well, and they've always done it well, and they've I think they're going to do it well again. It's going to be about word of mouth, and then we go to June 27th. We got two big movies yet again with people that understand how to make movies. F1, the movie, and Megan 2.0.
Yeah, this is an interesting mix of content here, right? So you have a movie. F1 has soared in popularity. I would almost argue it's maybe at its peak right now, or close to it. It's very popular. There's a bunch of content out there, whether it's Netflix shows, documentaries. There's a bunch of things that have come out. They're pushing F1 very hard. They're pushing it very heavy in terms of not just in the concept of F1 racing, but in addition to merchandising. There's a lot of push on that side of it. Obviously, it's got Brad Pitt in it. That doesn't hurt the box office on that side. I think F1 will do well. And then you have Megan. Now, listen, I saw the first Megan, and it was a lot of fun. It was a horror movie that I had fun watching. And that is something that's really magical. If you can make a fun, not just scary, but a fun horror movie, yeah, audiences tend to like that. They tend to get into that. What is your take?
Yeah, so I believe Brad Pitt's obviously a guy I love because he gets it again. He's another one of those guys who loves to put movies in theaters, and he understands the movie industry, not the entertainment industry, but the movie industry. He gets it. So he's another one of those guys I love. But Megan might be a little too strong for his movie this time around. I think he'll play. I think he's going to play really well with F1 overseas because
Yeah.
I think that's where the big market for this movie will be. Megan will do well overseas, but I think it'll beat out F1 domestically, just because it's got the backing of the first movie, which was number one at the box office and did really well, and then this one looks, dare I say, even campier, and has got even a lot more comedy involved in it too. So I think that should propel it to be a really big date night movie. Whereas it's tougher for the guy to bring the girl to the race car movie. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So even though it's got Brad Pitt, of course, there's always a draw. But I think this will do well. So I think it could split, quite honestly, and one could be bigger overseas, one could be bigger domestically, that kind of thing, or Megan could take both.
So you're saying Megan for the primary. I know what you said on the split side. I think I'm going to say, man, my gut says Megan, but I'm going to counter. I'm going to counter program you on this one
Yep.
just so we have a little rivalry. I'm going to say F1. I'm going to say F1 only from the support that it seems it's getting. I think it's going to get enough marketing support that it might. They just put out a soundtrack. Has a brand new song by Rose, which everybody loves, the Appa Tapa song. And so I just feel like they're putting a little push behind it. I do think you're right about the date night element of it. I do think you're into that space. But I'll just counter program to say, so I'll take F1 on that side of it, though I think Megan is realistically and oddly the stronger contender.
I just know where most race car movies generally end up with, like, Ford versus Ferrari did really well, but some of the other race car movies tend to be okay. They do okay, and but they don't always hit huge. So it just depends on the movie and what it is. We'll see how it goes. I want it to do really well because I love that Brad Pitt likes to make big movies for theaters specific.
Absolutely.
I always support that. So I see it, of course. We're now into the big July 4th movie because it's July 2nd and they're releasing Jurassic World Rebirth, and it'll have all the IMAX screens by this point as well. And it's the only movie that's coming out on that day.
So we know who wins July 2nd.
I've been telling my brother, because we've seen this trailer about 100 times already in theaters, and I've told him probably about 100 times this movie looks not good. I will see it, of course, because I've seen all the Jurassic Park movies.
Interesting take from you. That's an interest. I'm a little shocked by that.
Yeah, so obviously I was a huge fan of the first three Jurassic Park movies. I even liked the third one a lot better than most people did because it had the flying, the flying dinosaurs in the cage and all that stuff. I love that scene, and so I was a big fan of that, and I was a big fan of all the Pratt movies. I liked all those. They're releasing this way too quickly for my taste. Um, they've got another $300 million budget on it. I think they're going to have trouble getting some of this back. Quite honestly, it's not going to. I don't see this going over $1 billion like the Pratt films, and we'll see how it goes. But Scarlett Johansson as the new lead is just not going to get it done, in my opinion. She's bankable in some facets, but not always. And we'll see how it goes. But it benefits by the fact that it's the only movie coming out that week, so that makes it the only show in town. If you're not catching all the holdover movies before it.
I agree with you. My challenge with the film, to your point as well, is I feel like we have a little bit of Jurassic fatigue.
Yes.
I to your point, I feel like the other ones. So if you, what's that?
And it doesn't look that good.
It doesn't, and the problem I have is like the first three escalated appropriately and they worked really well. We took a huge break. We come back. We revamped the idea. It works really well. Then all of a sudden, the dinosaurs are roaming around the United States, and you have a huge closeout on that story that, like, it's kind of there. This feels almost like in our heyday of movies and in our 90s window, this feels like it would have been a straight-to-video movie. It would have been a straight-to-video adaptation, and I don't think it's going to tickle people's fancy, especially with some other stuff. The movie coming up a week after, I think it's going to destroy the summer. I think it's going to win the summer, personally. We'll get to it here in a second. And I don't mean this is Spinal Tap, which has a re-release.
We are going to talk about that one, though, because on July 4th, This is Spinal Tap gets a full re-release, which is going to be great for anybody who's loved this movie. And they're going to throw extra stuff into it. And there's going to get a full blow-up of, the HD 4K kind of look. And it's going to be a lot of fun. This is Spinal Tap was a marvelous movie, and
hands down.
It's fun to actually see this in theaters, which I did not get to when it first was released because I was pretty young. But I'm really really looking forward to get to see this in theaters.
Same, absolutely the same. In fact, I'm more partial to see that. If I have to pick between the two, I'd rather see that than Jurassic World, personally.
I would absolutely rather see this than Jurassic World. I don't think Jurassic World Rebirth looks very good at all. Now I could go to it and be like, that was much better than I thought it was going to be. Okay. And I will come back on the show and I will say that because you know me, if the movie's released in theaters, I believe in you almost 100% of the time.
That's right.
And I've always been that way, but this movie doesn't look very good. And the last movie I said didn't look very good from a trailer. It wasn't very good. And it was called The Marvels.
Yeah, that was not good.
And it was a terrible movie. I've only known one person who liked it, and that was my brother.
But he also will die on the hill for that movie, though. He will die on the hill.
And you know what's funny about this movie? He's also standing up for this.
Right.
So I know I'm on the right side of history now, because if he liked the Marvels, and that movie was trash, and nobody else liked that, and also, by the way, that was a gigantic, and I do mean gigantic, flop.
Yeah.
And so we'll see how this one does. I think it'll do better than the Marvels because it's the only show in town on July 2nd, which is a huge weekend to go to the movies. But I'm just saying, temper your expectations for the DEI version of Jurassic.
Oh boy.
So we go to July 11th, and this is a movie I am looking forward to. And
100%.
Superman. It's got all the IMAX rollout as well. It's got the James Gunn stuff. It's huge. It's his first big DC movie. It's got the dog. It's got Crypto. It's got everybody in it, and it looks absolutely amazing. You're even kind of dressed like Clark Kent today.
I
So
am.
I'm really excited about it.
So here's the thing about Superman. Superman is not one of my favorite comic book characters because of his invulnerability and all that stuff. And I've enjoyed the Superman movies that have come out. I have a special place for the Reeves stuff, obviously. Grew up with him, John Williams soundtrack. I mean, big deal to me. I enjoyed the Man of Steel stuff for the most part. It was a little moody and broody for me. That's my problem with some of the gosh, I'm blanking on the director's name, but that guy's world, Zack Snyder's world. It was a little too moody and broody for me. Love the Batman of Zack Snyder, but not the rest. This, because it's James Gunn, and we know his track record with ensemble movies is magical as all get out. I have a feeling that this movie is going to steal the summer. I think that this will not, obviously it's winning the week. I think this will be the one when we have our post game show in several months, when we have a post game show and we look back on all this stuff. I have a feeling that it's going to be Superman that is the number one movie of the summer. It's going to have the biggest box office pull simply because it's going to be the most fun movie to watch in theaters. And if nothing else, who does not want to see a dog that can fly and act like an a-hole to its master that also has superpowers? I'm just telling you, I think it's going to explode.
So here's the devil's advocate point of view to that. Okay, so right now we've got superhero fatigue.
Yep.
All right. Superman, while is one of the first superhero movies to come out back in the day, um, overall, lately when they release Superman movies, they don't do nearly as well as some of the other superhero films. And also, the other thing that we have is DC, just in general, has never done as well as Marvel for the most
Right.
part. Now, it is a relaunch for DC. I do understand that. There's going to be people that are going to be interested in that. This movie, more than most, has to, and I do mean has to have, not good, not decent, but amazing word of mouth if it's
Yep.
going to be the number one movie of the summer. And I do
Yep.
believe it can. I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that. But it's going to have amazing word of mouth because otherwise what's going to happen is it's going to have an amazingly good first week and then it's going to crash. And that's not what you want. But I do think it will have good word of mouth. Listen, I tell people this all the time when I get asked what are my favorite superhero movies. Obviously, besides Tim Burton's Batman movies, the other one that I always answer lately has been Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Not the
Love
first
3.
one,
Yeah.
but the third one that has the Rocket storyline in it, which I
Yep.
thought was absolutely amazing. And Gunn knows how to do this stuff. So I mean, he's the best at this, and he's one of the best at doing this. So it's gonna be a good movie. I just the word of mouth from other people besides myself and of course my brother is going to have to be really 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 big for it to be the number one movie of the summer, but I do agree it could definitely be there for sure.
And I am literally banking, my gamble on this statement is banking on the idea that the other DC movies, it's not that they were bad, but they were so different. If you just look at them visually, they were dark, gritty. They had a lot of grain in the shots. It was moody. They weren't necessarily a lot of fun in sense of like, you would watch them and they were good, but they were like, but the standalone DC content that worked that people did enjoy, like Peacemaker with John Cena, the people loved that show. And
Right.
it was the opposite of the rest of the universe they created. It was much more like more tongue in cheek and hey, we can laugh at ourselves. We're comics, which is what Marvel did for a long time very well. So I'm sticking with it, but I'm with you. Your advocacy is completely correct, and it is a gamble and it is a risk. But that's what that's my, if we were fantasying, this is my player that nobody else predicts that I think breaks out. That's what I
No,
think.
I mean I 100% agree it could very easily do it. I'm not knocking it because he has brought that Marvel kind of feel to the film. So that's kind of a good thing that DC kind of needed. You're right. I've always been saying that a long time. I was like, Marvel gets it because they put everything into their movies. They got a little bit of everything for everybody. That's what makes them so universal. But superhero fatigue right now at the theater is a huge thing. And if we're going to
Yeah.
talk about Jurassic World, Jurassic Park movies, then it's going to have to be the same for this film as well. And that's the only thing that makes, because I was really really excited when the Flash movie came out. I thought that movie looked absolutely amazing, and I thought it was really good. And that movie like had a pretty good first weekend, and then completely crashed. Now the Flash is not Superman,
Right.
it's not the same
Right.
character. And there was some things about the Flash that hurt it at the box office, but that Superman does not have going, that have against it. But again, it's going to do really well, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I know my brother is really looking forward to it. So, that'll be a lot. It'll be a lot of fun for sure. On to the next weekend, which I think is pretty interesting. Um, Eddington, which is a movie with and Joaquin Phoenix, which looks pretty brilliant, and it's going to be a pretty brilliant comedy as well. And I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is getting a reboot here, and Smurfs, which is
Right.
kind of a musical in an aspect. Rihanna is going to be taking over the Smurfette role here, so there's going to be a lot of music, and it's going to be in Smurf and John Goodman is Papa Smurf. So the Smurfs are back, and there couldn't be three movies that are more different at the box office on July 18th.
Yeah, this is a really fascinating mix. Eddington is another A24 film. I know you did last summer is carrying the legacy franchise name. And then Smurfs, obviously even then, the Smurfs haven't been much in popular culture lately. They've had some other pieces pushing out, so this feels a little bit like a reboot. I don't think Smurfs is going to pull it off. I think nostalgia-based parents will take their kids, and it has a great cast, as you mentioned, but I don't know if that's enough to turn it. This is tough. I think that I know what you did last summer is gonna end up on top here, only because of the nostalgia factor of that movie came out in, I don't remember what it was, the 90s, I assume.
Came out in the 90s,
Yeah,
came out our era.
right.
So
And I was just watching a video talking about Jennifer Love Hewitt, and I mean, she was a babe at the time, so they're banking on that same idea a little bit here. It is a remake, we get it. Most people are going to kind of understand. I'm sure there's a twist to it, but I think it's going to do well. Although Eddington just looks so good,
really good.
but if
Yeah.
people are spending money, I think they spend it on something that makes sense for them to see in the theater. Which I think I'm going to say with I Know What You Did Last Summer on that
I
case.
just that movie when I look to try to find the nuances between I'm pretty good box office guy. And when I look to try to find the nuances between movies like these, I always look for which one is going to bring the dates. Who is
Yeah,
going to the movie as a couple on date night? And I Know What You Did Last Summer has got more of that appeal. It just does.
yeah,
Smurfs are going to have the kid element once again, man. I mean, people are going to flock to that movie, and once again, it could split a little bit. So I Know What You Did Last Summer, horror movie. Question is going to be at this point, how many kids movies are too many for the summer? Because that does happen, and there are quite a few. There have been some weeks, a couple weeks here in between them and stuff like that. But the question is, do parents want to be swimming in the pools with your kids, or do they want to go to the movies? And we'll try to see what happens. And I think there's other kid fare out there that they're going to want to see instead of the Smurfs. Um, but I do think the Smurfs are going to do pretty well.
okay. Well, so is that your take for that week? Are you taking the Smurfs for that week?
I'm gonna I'm gonna say I Know What You Did Last Summer pushes to number one, and but
Okay.
with the caveat that the Smurfs could be number one. I know that sounds like it's a very Libra take of scaling things out. I get it, but I do believe, and it's also a possible split too. Again, another one where one could be domestic and one could be worldwide. So that's another
Oh,
one of those that happen as well.
that's a good
Uh,
point.
and here we got July 25th, and here we are with another big, Fantastic Four movie, First Steps, and we got Ojai as well, which looks, it's a counter programming indie film as well.
Here's my thing. Unfortunately, I I want Fantastic Four to work because I think the cast is out freaking standing. I love the cast. I forget the guy's name, but the guy who is playing Ben Grimm, I love him. I loved him he was in Andor season 1, but he's also most known recently for people from dang it, the Chicago food movie. Just a TV show. I can't think about it. What's the name of that show that has Jeremy what's his face in it? I can't even think of the name of it. Anyway, that food show that people love that's about Chicago, the Bear. So it has the guy from the Bear in it, and I love him so much. Marvel is taking
another Pedro Pascal movie as well,
and it is Pedro Pascal.
This guy's busier than anybody else in the world right now.
Well, I mean, he's got plenty of time because he's dead on Last of Us 2. I'm just saying.
I'm just saying he's got 3 summer movies.
I wanted to do well because I love the cast. My only concern is Marvel took a big risk in the stylization of this, setting it in kind of a different looking world, which looks really fun. I don't know. I just don't know. The Fantastic Four was very popular a long time ago when science was, the atomic age was new. I just don't know if this is going to translate into big numbers. I think it's going to do fine. I just don't know if it's going to be a big number movie. It obviously is winning that week, but I just don't know if it's going to be a big number movie for the summer.
The last Fantastic Four movie that came out did pretty poorly.
Right.
Did pretty poorly, as in they needed to redo the entire look of this next movie to take the stank off of it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Now, the ones that came out with Jessica Alba and those guys, they did pretty well at the box office. They weren't the huge Marvel movies, but they did make money, and they of course they came out in a time frame where you had real true secondary markets to help buoy up as well. This isn't going to have that, but it's stylized enough that I think it's going to be intriguing to people. That it's got a different look. I've seen the trailers several times. I think it looks pretty good. I even commented to my brother the other night. I said, looks pretty good. And I think it's going to do fairly well. It's fighting against superhero fatigue.
Yep.
And that is, I don't care what anybody says. That is a real thing right now. It's a real thing right now. None of these movies are going to make the $1 billion numbers, the 850 million to $1 billion to almost 3 billion, like Avengers. They're not going to do those types of numbers, and Fantastic Four never would anyway. But those movies are not going to make that kind of money, so they got to try to keep their budgets into the mid 100s, which is what they did brilliantly with Thunderbolts. They made it about $180 million movie instead of like a $280 million movie, which
right.
was incredibly brilliant because now they're going to make money on that movie. But they have to make sure that they keep the budgets now a little bit lower than they had been, because Marvel was ballooning up to 250, 300 million per movie at one point.
Right.
And they're not there now. They're like mid 100s to late 100s, and that they're taking off about $100 million off their budgets. So it's a big deal, and so it's a very stylized look. So I think will make its money back, but it's not going to be like $700-800 million movie. But it should do well. It's going to win this weekend, of course, because it's going up against a comedy called Ohio, which looks really funny, but it is a romantic comedy. So with no real names in it at all.
Right.
So it'll win this weekend for sure, but superhero fatigue, very, very real thing.
So we queue up for this. It takes us into there's a movie that drops on July 30th. It's a Wednesday release. It's a movie called Together. I don't know enough about it. Is that just a small release?
This is the real life couple, Allison Brie and Dave Franco, and they're doing this is a horror movie, and it looks pretty darn good. I've seen some trailers for it, and because it's from Neon, I'll probably get a screener come in for this. But
Yeah.
yeah, so because I get those from Neon, because I got a source for them. But I'll probably see this movie before July 30th, and we'll report back. But this looks pretty fun. This looks pretty good. This looks pretty good. Dave Franco, Allison Brie. If you're a fan of Community, and you know Allison Brie very well, and Dave Franco, of course, James Franco's brother. It's about this couple that's together, and then they have all these weird things that happen, and it's a horror movie, and there's a lot of elements to it. And check out the trailer; it'll explain a lot more than I'm going to be able to right here.
Yeah, it's also as you said, it was a Neon film. That's also Life of Chuck got picked up by Neon, so that Neon's like A24 kind of pushing into the big summer market. That's interesting to see some of these other alt studios get in the mix a little bit. That takes us over to August 1st.
And you know, August is always the month, right? So like people are starting to worry about school and things of that nature. So August is always kind of a hit or miss month, depending on the what's coming out. Whereas obviously we've seen some big movies released in August. Sixth Sense, movies like that have been released in August and done extremely well. So it's still a month that you can make a lot of money as long as you're not releasing. And I've told this to people all the time that are releasing movies, including a studio that I worked with, a production company that I worked with for a very long time. That I told them not to release a movie and during Labor Day weekend, and they did, and it tanked, and they should have listened to me. I was very clear about it. But anyway, we start off August 1st, The Bad Guys 2, and The Naked Gun, starring Liam Neeson.
Yeah, So first off, let me tell you, The Bad Guys is a fantastic animated film. It's a lot of fun. It's stylized. It's hilarious. The energy is good. It's got a cool swagger to it. I think it was a little bit of a surprise how well it ended up doing in its initial release. I think it's a lot of fun. I'm excited about it. But The Naked Gun in the history of this show, that kind of, and some of the lines that have been said in that movie is very much part of the originals are part of our lexicon in the Naked Gun series, and we've said these a lot, and so I kind of feel like it being re-released, I'm excited about, or it's a new take. I guess it's a sequel technically, but it's stepping into a new space. I'm excited about it. I do think it looks funny. I love those movies. It's very interesting that they put one out. I don't know if the younger generation will like this kind of comedy or not. That's the curiosity for me, is that some of this more abstract comedy, I don't know if it works for the literalists. The young people are literalists, and I just don't know if it lands. That's my concern.
It's going to need us. It needs us. It needs the middle aged guys, like the late 30s, like you and I, late 30s type guys, to go see these movies. But yeah, it's a sequel because these are the kids. These are like their sons, but they're older, obviously.
Right.
And it looks pretty funny. I mean, the first trailer is a teaser, and when they get to OJ, he's like, he just does that look, and it's hilarious. And so I'm really interested if they're willing to go that route with OJ. They're willing to put pretty much anything in this movie, which is gonna be really good. And I already had to fend off a couple of people that are like, well, Liam Neeson, why would he be in there? I was like, well, why was Leslie Nielsen in these movies? Because Leslie Nielsen, if you don't know his background, was never a comic actor. He was always a serious, dramatic actor who was mostly in TV shows and things like that, playing villains. And he was always a dramatic actor. And then all of a sudden comes Airplane and, Police Squad and then Naked Gun. And all of a sudden he is a comic actor who's on all these spoof movies. And that's how he ended his career.
Yep.
Not a bad way to do it because he kind of reinvented himself for a different audience. So that was genius on his part. And Liam Neeson kind of doing the same thing. I like it. I'm into it.
Yeah, I look, I'm all for it. I think that week it's the most. I mean, I love Bad Guys too, but like, I, if I'm going to the theater that week, I'm going to see Naked Gun because I think it would just be a lot of fun to laugh with other people in the theater. And you might laugh in some stuff in Bad Guys, but you're gonna laugh out loud. I have a theory. If you like that kind of comedy, you're there for a reason. I think it will be fun to see how that movie does. I'm gonna take it in hopes because I love that series so much. But I'm going to take it. And I do think at this point, there's been a lot of kids' movies that are either sequels or remakes. So
The
considering that
fatigue,
if, what's that?
little, their little fatigue factor.
I do think we're getting into that spot. I really do. Yeah.
Late, talk about August, and people are starting to think about, oh, I need to go get school supplies and things of that nature, and sometimes they're not hitting the theater nearly as much in August as with their
Right.
kids. Other people are hitting the theaters, but not necessarily with their kids, and so that's going to be an interesting thing. That's what kind of helps Naked Gun as far as maybe winning the weekend. Um, I think Bad Guys 2 maybe edges it, but I'm really hoping Naked Gun. I'm really hoping Naked Gun wins the weekend. I think
Yeah.
it can.
I'm with you.
I do think it can. If it gets enough people there that are in their late 30s like us, that remember the franchise really well, I think it'll do really well.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. That's all we can do is just wait and see on that one.
And then of course on Wednesday, Sketch comes out. Have you seen anything about that one? Have you paid
Nothing.
attention?
I have not seen a thing. I just looked at the poster and the artwork looks really good. It looks like an interestingly weird movie.
It is going to be an interesting weird. It is going to be an interestingly weird movie. It stars Tony Hale and Darcy Carden, and it's kind of like a fantasy comedy. So it should be interesting. I don't expect it to be like a big factor at the box office as we're talking about box office, but some nice counter programming for people that are more into like the indie side of things. And this could be one of those films for you. I like the fact that movies like that are getting released in theaters
Yeah, I
because
do
that
too.
you want to see more of that. You don't want to see just big tentpole movies in theaters. That's never a good thing. By the way, that is never a good thing. I don't care what anyone says. You do not want to only see big tentpole movies in theaters. That is not good. That is not a good thing for theaters. Trust me when I say that. Now, there are plenty of people out there who like to see big tentpole popcorn movies only. That's not good. We don't want that. We want a wide array of films released in theaters, comedies, dramas, romance. We want them all in theaters. We don't care what the budgets are. We don't care if you're a $1 million movie. We don't care if you're a $500 million movie. Get your asses into the theaters. We want you in theaters. That's exactly what we want. So we want this movie in theaters. We want Jurassic World in theaters. We want every film to be in theaters from here on out. That's
Well,
what we want.
there's a movie coming up that we'll talk about that I'm so excited is in theaters that it's a sequel, but we'll get to it just after this. But yeah, I'm excited to see. I can't wait to see something on Sketch because it sounds like it could be a lot of fun. That Friday though, got an interesting mix of programming here because I just recently saw the trailer for Weapons. Dear
Yeah,
God, that is some spooky looking stuff.
yeah. So Weapons is a horror mystery. It's going to be pretty interesting, and it's done by a friend of mine. So Zach Krager is the man who brought us Barbarian, which
Yeah.
is an amazing movie. If you haven't seen it, if you're a horror fan, you haven't watched Barbarian, you have missed it, my friends, because that is an amazing, amazing movie, and that's from the mind of Zach Krager, who I worked with on a comedy called College, and he's a wonderful guy, and he has got an imagination, let me tell you.
Yeah.
And he's releasing Weapons this summer, and it looks phenomenal.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those movies. If it gets enough traction, it could be the best horror film of the summer. It could end up doing the best. I mean, it's late, I get that, but it just could get enough traction to really put it over the edge because it is just wild looking to me.
And it's putting up against Freakier Friday.
Yeah, which I didn't even know they were re-releasing another one of
But
these.
I saw the trailer the other night when I was at Thunderbolts, and then I went to go see The Amateur, which is an amazing movie. Um, but with Rami Malek and Lawrence Fishburne, I thought it was incredible. Freakier Friday is now released in theater trailers, and looks like a Freaky Friday movie. I mean, it doesn't look bad. It looks fine. You know, if you're into Freaky Friday, if you liked the movie with these two ladies, which I did, I thought it was entertaining. Here you go. You got a sequel. You know, in 2025, way, 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 way after the fact. But you got it.
And it could be the resurrection of Lohan's career, for all we know.
Yeah, could be, without question.
But I gotta
Um,
tell you, I gotta preface this next week. I gotta tell you something. In all honesty, I've been waiting for Superman. I've been waiting for Life of Chuck because of my relationship to it. But to be real honest with you, this is the movie I've been waiting for.
Nobody
I
Two.
love the, I love Nobody, the first one so much. It is one of my favorite movies I've seen in years, just because it caught me off guard. I don't know if this one can pull it off, but they added some cast.
Right?
But
Sure.
the first one was, if you like a gritty, in my opinion, a grittier version of John Wick, because the fight scenes in Nobody are some of the grittiest, most brutal fight scenes I've ever seen filmed. And they're done by a guy who has no business doing fight scenes. I didn't think until I saw it. I think this movie, I don't know if it's going to do great in the box office because it's a very genre film, but I just am so excited to see this movie. The trailer just dropped recently. I cannot wait for this movie.
It's a terrific cast. I mean, they've added Christopher Lloyd, and they've added Connie Nielsen's in it, and Sharon Stone, and Colin Hanks, and Michael Ironside, and they got all kinds of great names in this. I mean, and of course Bob Odenkirk's back, and he's doing his role. I loved the first one. I mean, I thought it was amazing. Saw it in theaters. Everybody I was with loved it, and then I've seen it. I've seen it several times since. Really, really, really good movie. Hilarious. Lots of comedy. I mean, it's funny
It's
and
really funny and violent and very
and oh,
violent.
incredibly violent. So, I mean, if you're into action and you're into violence, and you also like that with the side of really, really funny comedy, this is a movie for you because I'm pretty sure they're going to do it pretty much the same way they did the first one.
Yeah, and this could be interesting after we see it. If your very profound statement about comedies doing sequels, does this fall into the comedy category sequel failure, or does it fall into an action category where it gets by? That's the question I have for this movie. And I hope that it falls into the latter. I hope it falls in the action comedy and not a comedy with some action. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, this is a little different, I think, in the sense that it's would fall more into the action comedy spot where, like, you know, maybe like a Bad Boys would be or something like that. It's not going to do as well as that, but I mean, it's that kind of thing where it would. Um, it's not like releasing the Hangover 2 or the Hangover 3, which they did well. Those movies did well, but sometimes the comedies fall off, and
Yeah.
because they do all the same gags and everything else. It'll be interesting to see how many of the same type of gags they do in this, because there were a lot of gags in the first one, and so it'll be interesting to see how much of that they bring back to kind of be like the first one, or are they going to go completely different? That's what I'm going to be looking for in this film, to see something completely different. And then
So what?
August
Go
twenty
ahead.
second. Next,
Yeah.
August 22nd, we start out with Americana, which is Sydney Sweeney. She's got her summer movie, and this is that. So, I mean, Sydney Sweeney is pretty hot right now for the most part. You know, in
Yeah.
anything that Madam Web, because that didn't do all that well, but she's still great, and it'll be interesting to see how some of her hits have carried over to this film. Then we got Honey Don't, and we got Splitsville as well, and so it's what we're getting into here is the classic. And by the way, Honey Don't stars Margaret Qualley, who might be your favorite actress.
Why do you say that?
Well, because you brought her up on the show like 600 times. This is Andie MacDowell's daughter.
Oh yeah, I love her. She's smoking hot.
She's from The Substance. You've brought this movie up
I do
17.
love that movie. I do love that movie, and I think she's a good actor.
You don't always seem to know who her mom is because you thought it's Andie MacDowell, you thought it's Madeline Stowe, you thought different things. So you don't always have that right, but you know you like this actress, and you know you like her past work, and now she's going to be in a movie that's kind of a comedy, kind of with some psychological thriller elements, and it also stars Aubrey Plaza, who I know you
Who I
like.
do love. I also think Charlie Day is very funny, and Chris Evans apparently has got a little bit in it. So good cast. It might be one of those fun movies that, you know, I may or may not see it in theaters, but it may be one of those movies I come back to and forget that I told that you brought it up to me, and I'm like, you know what I saw? I saw Andie MacDowell's daughter in a Madeline Stowe's daughter in a movie, and you're gonna be like, yeah, we talked about it. Go listen to episode whatever.
Directed,
Yeah.
directed by Ethan Cohen too.
Okay, so it should have some good. I noticed that Americana, you brought up, is directed by a first-time director. There's a couple on this list that got summer releases that are first-time directors. So kudos to those guys to get a summer release. To your point, those are movies that we want in theaters. But also, Americana, there's an actor in this movie that people probably just don't pay attention to. His name's Paul Walter Hauser, and
Oh, he,
I adore him. I think he is not only is he a wrestling fan, so I love him for that, but I just think he's a really good actor. I really enjoy his performances. So I'm excited to see him potentially in that. Again, none of these are strong enough for me. I know that we have difference on that side of it. None of these are strong enough to quite draw me to the theater, but I will watch all these three movies. They seem like they're interesting films.
and Splitsville is a comedy, and it stars Dakota Johnson. She's got a few movies coming out this cycle of summer films as well. Good to see her back in theaters, and see how she does off of the Madam Web scenario. It didn't do so well for her.
Who takes
But
this week for you?
this is a tough one because it's just, this is traditionally where theaters kind of put their movies that are not necessarily super strong. This is not a strong week to put a summer release because you're kind
Right.
of done. You're basically at the end of August into September. You're usually the first week of September. You're usually kind of dumping what you have that you necessarily it wasn't strong enough to give you a midsummer release, but it's not strong enough to give you a fall release. And but you got to put it like either here in January or maybe the 1st of February, somewhere in that range. Um, and this is kind of what they've done. Anything could win here. I'm gonna say uh, I'm gonna say Honey Don't probably wins here
That's my
because
guess too.
but I the Sydney Sweeney factor is very real, and she's had a couple big hits, and she's super hot. So I'm just saying, like, there could be plenty of people that go to the theater to see her. So let's see how the trailers stack up as we get closer to August, because that's more of a telltale than anything else. Is how the movies are looking as they're coming into the stretch run, and how they decide to cut those trailers. That usually gives me a better indication of what's going to be super big. And then we end the summer, August 29th. We end the summer with Caught Stealing, um, which I actually think looks pretty good. Actually, um, have you done
I
any?
don't.
Yeah,
Oh,
this
Aronofsky. Wow.
Aaron Aronofsky and my our guy Matty Libatique is the cinematographer who I love. Very nice guy. We shot My Own Love Song. Another guy who listens to the show. I've never given this guy a shout out, I don't think, but Nathan Parker, and he listens. He's an avid listener, and he shot that movie with me as well. And we had a great time with Matty. Matty's a really nice guy. Matty was the guy who did my photo with the Banksy. I had him and Maddie and I chased out on when we were shooting that movie when we were on the Scout. when we were on a regular scout with like three or four of us, not a tech scout, but him and I were in the car together, and we chased down Banksy paintings all over New Orleans.
Oh, fantastic.
So he would take shots of me at these Banksies and then sent them all to me. So he's great. He's a great dude. But Darren Aronofsky has got a really good cast, including Vincent D'Onofrio and Austin Butler. And Aronofsky is always worth watching. Zoe Kravitz is in it too. Lee Schreiber. So
Good
Aronofsky is always
cast.
worth. Yeah, it's a great cast, and Aronofsky is always worth watching. And oh, Bad Bunny's in it too. So that'll probably help get some people there as well.
Yep. And I noticed you didn't mention the Toxic Avenger is coming out that day too.
Toxic Avenger is coming out. They are doing a re-release of Toxic Avenger, and this actually it's the new Toxic Avenger. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's
yeah,
what's so wild to me. They remade it with
but they, yeah,
Peter
remade it.
Dinklage as the Toxic Avenger.
Yes, I missed it because it was on the bottom there. But yes, the new Toxic Avenger is also coming out this week as well. That'll be an interesting week. But it's also in Labor Day weekend, which is not where you ever want to release.
No, it's okay for Aronofsky because he's an art house director. So like people are literally going to see, because I even did it. Once I clicked on it and saw it's Aronofsky, I said, oh God, Aronofsky. So like people are going, Toxic Avenger, I mean, that's a trauma film. I mean, when I was in film school, sure, they were fun to watch, but it's not really anything I have any interest in anymore.
I mean, they're always fun to watch. We'll see how it goes. I just don't know if it's got the cachet right now. At this point in time. Kevin Bacon, Elijah Wood. We'll see how it goes. Peter Dinklage. I mean, I'm interested in it, but I did like those movies back in the day. Troma Films has been kind of off the radar for a very, very, very long time. So, but there will be people that'll be there for sure, without
Yeah,
question.
there's people that are still to this day Lloyd Kaufman loyalists, so they will be there for that side of it. And that does it. That gets us through the summer. We have made
Ooh,
it to the end. Yeah, there's a lot of questions remain. I think my big takeaway from me personally was something that as we went through this, it revealed to me. I feel like there's still a lack right now of family not action, but family adventure films. And I mean something where like, if you think about the original Star Wars trilogy, yes, they're fantasy and they're sci-fi, but there's an adventure, there's a call to action and adventure to it. I don't feel like we've had any original of those. I do also feel a little bit saddened that most of the kids' movies are remakes or sequels, minus Pixar. Um, so it's interesting to see where we are in the state of things that we're getting. I'm just saying this as someone who's on a podcast where we talk about movies and we're going through 93 and we've just done the summer of 94 recently. And we're talking about these movies, and a lot of those movies, there were some remakes and sequels in, but there's also a lot of original movies that came out. And I kind of feel like I wish Hollywood, to your point, and I'm supporting you in this, would put, and they've done some during the summer, I would love it if they would put some more new ideas in theaters. I think it's important. To your very good point, Tony, now that it's settling in with me, we do need people to go to the theater. We need you to go see movies that aren't just popcorn movies, because if we don't, we miss gems. And the gems are the ones that are the most fun, that you get excited to tell your friends about a movie that you loved, that they may not have seen. And then they come back to you and tell you like, oh my God, that was so good. Thank you for telling me that. And we only get that if we as patrons support movies that may or may not necessarily be a popcorn movie or a remake or whatever else it may be.
well, gone are the movies that used to come out like Can't Hardly Wait. That would come
Yep.
out in May, and kind of start the summer. Or, we love So I Married an Axe Murderer. That movie's not getting released in theaters these days, more than likely. I mean,
Yep.
it's those types of films are just not getting theatrical releases as original programming, and they should. They need to be in theaters. They don't need to be on streaming. Streaming is awful. It's awful, and Netflix is really awful. So, uh, I mean, just being honest, and Netflix is without question the worst company in the world, in the entire world. They've done more damage that people don't even understand than any company in the world. They're awful. They're awful, awful, awful. And people need to be at theaters. You just have to be there. It just the movies need to get more theatrical releases, and there's ways to do it. And I can tell you from a person that gets lots of scripts sent to them from other people, there are plenty of original ideas out there. They just got to be willing to put them out. And this is what ticks me off about movies like this Jurassic Park movie, because we're not even that far removed from Chris Pratt, in those films and Jurassic World Dominion, which came out in 2022, and here we are with another Jurassic movie. It's like, come on, guys, we have to do better. That's the big July 4th movie,
Right. Right.
Come on. And there's nothing else going against it at all. And that would have been a perfect time to release another movie, because I know there's Jurassic fatigue. I know there is. And so that would have been a perfect weekend to release 2 or 3 other movies to give people counter programming, such as, a great comedy or an American Pie type film. And those types of movies are not getting released anymore, period.
Yep.
So that kind of upsets me, and that's why I tried to tout as many of the comedies and things that were coming out as we can, because even the horror movies, I like them because they're usually original ideas, whether or not you like the idea, whether or not you like the way it ends up being produced and in the storyline. If it works or not for you, that's fine, but give it a go, watch it in the theater. And for people that say they're too expensive, Tuesday nights almost everywhere is an inexpensive night to go to a theater. You can get in for $6, and the other thing is, if you buy your movie tickets off of Fandango, for every 4 tickets you buy, they will send you a $5 coupon. So therefore, you have a $5 coupon that you can spend on the next movie that you buy off Fandango. And if you're going to a $6 movie, you're now paying $1 to get into the theater.
The other thing that's come back, and it's a little bit different model than they used to have, but Movie Pass is also back.
Right. Exactly.
It's not quite as awesome as it used to be, where it was like you paid $20 and you saw as many movies as you want. That was insane. But Movie Pass is back, and it is, if you're going to see a lot of movies, like I buy it just before the summer because I take the kids, and at least one of my tickets is cheaper than the other 2. I mean, kids' tickets are usually cheaper anyway, but like I have Movie Pass specifically for the summer. That said, let me ask you this, Tony. I announced mine. What do you think? Who wins the summer? Who's the Super Bowl, Summer Bowl champion?
I knew you were going to ask me this.
I know it's tough for you.
I really do believe that the biggest movie of the summer will probably be. Again, there's a caveat, because it really is going to depend on the word of mouth of Superman. That really is going to be a big deal. And so I reserve my right to change that once I hear what's going on there. But I think Lilo and Stitch could very easily be the biggest movie of the summer.
That's what I would put it at number 2 for sure. I definitely feel like if anything's going to shatter my record here, it's going to be Lilo and Stitch just holding clutch the entire summer.
But I'm hoping Mission Impossible is the biggest movie of the summer. I'm hoping it is.
Yeah.
Because I'll do anything Tom Cruise wants, except be a Scientologist. I'll do anything Tom Cruise needs me to do. Except for be a Scientologist, I'll do anything Tom Cruise needs me to do. Because he gets it. He understands what's going on. He knows how to put a movie into the theaters. He was told many times to put Top Gun Maverick and the first Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, that came out on the first end of this. He was told to put those in streaming, and he said, absolutely not. That'll never happen. Over my dead body is that going to happen? And he is the man. So Tom Cruise is the man. Support Tom Cruise movies. He's the guy.
There we go. All right. So with that said, we're going to wrap up this beefy episode. If you like what we said, you should join the conversation. If you got your own picks, throw them in the mix. Just get on the Facebook page and make it happen. We love to have that kind of conversation. Dale Boyd, I hope you have a scorecard because we have a bunch of trips coming up, and I expect you to have your scorecard prepped. You told us in the comments you love fantasy draft, so we just gave you one. So you better have picked a team. Better be going good here, pal. That's going to do it for the show. Look, it's summertime. It's going to be hot as hell. Go to the movies. Take your family. Have a good time. Tony, is there anything else you want to say before we just kill the streams?
Have fun. Enjoy the summer. Let's go.
Peace.